All right, we're back. We were talking about a like-new building, that term, like-new. Walk me through that a little bit, as briefly as you can, because I want to move on from there. And I guess what I want to get at, first of all, is in Hensberger's mind, what is a like-new building, and did it work?
Well, a like-new building is, in his mind, was completely new baths and kitchens. Now, to do that, you have to empty the unit so that that can be done. Now, the kitchens didn't need to be new if they were subsidized. The plumbing worked. There were stoves and there were refrigerators, and they seemed to be working. So there was running water. The lights were working.
So did you update those? I mean, you entered into the agreement, so
We didn't have
did you
to. We
update
didn't
them?
have to upgrade them to make the buildings decent, safe, and sanitary.
Mhm.
We ultimately, to get the loan,
Mhm.
we did have to agree to do that, and we did actually upgrade them to that effect. It didn't really make any difference in the marketplace.
All right.
So that's the point.
So it wasn't a success even after doing all of that?
There's an interesting concept I wrote at, I was giving a speech in 1985 in Seattle at a planning conference. People said, "Not even talking about amenities. How do you decide when to put something in and when not to put something in a building?
Mhm.
Is it important to have a 3-car garage, not a 2-car garage? What about a master bath?" And I said, I was inspired at that moment by an intervention, a divine intervention. I turned around to the whiteboard and said, here's the formula. BS equal PV times FU. That's the formula. And there's a gasp in the audience, and there's 1,000 people there, by the way.
And say, you can't spell that out on the air, so.
Yeah, I can, because what it means is buyer satisfaction, meaning the appeal of this particular feature, is a function of the perceived value of
Oh, I could do this. Yeah.
this feature times the frequency of its use. So it's important to have things in the kitchen that work well. It's not necessarily important to have 8-inch foundation walls as opposed to 6-inch foundation walls, because they don't really make a difference in the mind of the buyer. So with those principles in mind, I certainly wasn't making much headway with the people at HUD on my BS equal PV times FU formula. Hinsberger just wanted to have this stuff in it. And since he was the grand poobah,
The head man in charge, yes.
of giving out money in multifamily housing in Region 5, so it came to be. It's
All right.
sort of like a biblical verse.
All right, so Englewood filed a lawsuit against HUD. Walk me through the process.
Well, it really became very simple. I had thought that it was a very simple case. In September of 2003, we said you simply breached the contract. The contract called for you to provide 4 years of subsidy. You provided 1 year of subsidy. So the value of the damages were really the difference between what we would have received if you had fulfilled the contract and what we did receive by you not fulfilling the contract. I would have thought that would have been a 15-minute conversation,
Right.
but not with HUD. And not with the Department of Justice. They have all sorts of strategies up their sleeve. So the first thing they do is say, oh, you don't have jurisdiction. There's no jurisdiction. Well, it was precisely the issue of jurisdiction that they used in the Court of Federal Claims that enabled them to get out of the injunction in 2001.
Okay.
But that was then and now is now, so they filed a motion to dismiss. That took 3 months of briefing and oral argument, and 8 months later, in August 10th, 2004, Judge Wolski said, there is jurisdiction. There is no basis for saying that this is not reviewable. So all of the theory that Greg Gustin had to support his non-responsiveness to this was wiped away by Judge Wolski in 2004, and they were then required to answer the complaint ASAP.
So in the discovery process then, which went on essentially for what I'm hearing from you, 5 or 6 years, I mean.
Actually not. The discovery process was very short, way too short.
Oh,
The discovery
okay.
process started in, discovery means that you have a motion to produce,
Mm-hmm,
and you have interrogatories, and you have depositions. Those are
Right.
the three elements of discovery.
okay,
And then, so we started the discovery process, and we asked for HUD to provide information. And HUD said, well, we have this 1,150 entries of information for which we're claiming privilege, so we can't produce those for you. Like the stuff that you were asking about earlier,
right. The
Can't produce that.
privileged file is secret.
yes,
Alright.
if it's privilege, we're not required to disclose it. Now, that's something that we can challenge, and we will challenge as we go forward, because
Mhm.
most of their claims of privilege will evaporate under serious review. The second thing we can't find is there's no concurrences, because you would think, like this time when they said the thing was an error, HUD has an elaborate process of somebody, meaning probably Mr. Hinsberger, saying, this is a decision, I'd like to send it to this person to write an answer, and then it's to be reviewed by A, B, C, D, coming back to me, so that I have had an author of an answer and concurrences by 4 or 5 people. That's a lifeblood of HUD.
Mm-hmm.
And they have elaborate descriptions of how that's to be done and when it's to be done.
Okay.
But, this is sort of the mystery now, there were no concurrences. So they produced no real evidence on how they made any of their decisions. And those decisions that they made, most of them were confidential. So we were left with very little information to work with as we were going through the discovery process.
All right, let's take a break and come back and kind of wrap up we've wrapped up discovery, let's wrap up whatever testimony happened forward of that and get to where we are now.
Okay?
We'll be back.